This is probably my most requested what if of all time, and that's likely due to the success of What If Broly was sent to Earth and What If Goku was sent to Beerus' planet. We did combine those two what ifs for a one-time special, but here is a more permanent and possibly continuing story. What would happen should both Goku and Broly be sent to Earth? Before we dive deeper into that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more Dragon Ball content just like this. Also, just so you know, there will be a Beerus Pokemon team premiering on the second channel right after this premiere, so make sure you go and check that out as well. Our what if begins 5 years before the birth of Goku. This is when Broly is exiled by King Vegeta, but just like in my What If Broly was sent to Earth series, Paragus is able to redirect the course of Broly's pod before it takes off, sending him to Earth instead of the predestined location of Vampa. This does unfortunately lead to the death of Paragus by King Vegeta's hand, since he had committed treason, and simply exiling Broly was already a mercy in itself, so Broly is sent to Earth and found by Grandpa Gohan, who does his best to raise the rambunctious child. After narrowly surviving a night with Ozaru Broly, mainly surviving by hiding away and launching small attacks to keep him at bay, he quickly realizes that Broly must stay far away from the full moon unless he wishes to end his life rather quickly. This did leave Broly with some battle scars though, as Grandpa Gohan was able to catch the Saiyan off guard in his Ozaru form while trying to slow him down and make sure he doesn't destroy the planet. Unlike a young Goku, Broly is rather timid in general and thus listens to Grandpa Gohan's warnings regarding going outside in the full moon. Then, 5 years later, another spaceship lands in the woods of Mount Paozu, this time containing the Saiyan who would become Son Goku. Grandpa Gohan had already named Broly Goten before he knew the Ozaru form existed, so he decided to name this child Goku, since he more than likely has the same monstrous monkey transformation. For the sake of making this easy to understand as a listener, I will be referring to Goten as Broly for the rest of the story. Together, they all lived in what could only be described as peace to some degree, until one day the rather rambunctious Goku picked a fight with Broly. The two fell into a ravine, both hitting their heads in the landing. This made Goku a more happy-go-lucky child and made Broly only have access to his resting power level of 920, locking away his enraged power level even further into his psyche. With Goku being far more tame and Broly having no outbursts, life seemed like it would go well for the Son family on Mount Paozu. However, Goku wasn't as good at listening as Broly was. One night, he went out and witnessed the full moon, becoming an Ozaru and killing Grandpa Gohan. Broly was inside their home at the time, so he believed it to be the full moon monster like Goku does in the main timeline, and he tells Goku as such. Now, it was up to Broly and Goku to survive alone. Together, they kept up their martial arts training that Grandpa Gohan had taught them, and this raised Goku to incredible heights. Before Bulma was even a character in the story, Goku's power level was over 900 since he trained with Broly for many years, garnering not only experience, but also some minor zenkais from the damage he took sparring with his brother. From here, things are easy throughout Dragon Ball. Pilaf and his crew are a joke, and Goku and Broly still meet Muten Roshi and thus train alongside him with Krillin. Having these two as disciples pushed Roshi to employ the secret training that he did in Dragon Ball Super, or else he wouldn't be able to keep up with them and give them a good fight in the Tenkaichi Budokai. Krillin also grows massively due to these Saiyans being his rivals. The first Tenkaichi Budokai is a complete wash for the Turtle School. However, Broly is able to eliminate Roshi before the final round, and the same happens to Krillin by Goku. This leads to the climactic final fight between Broly and Goku, which is narrowly won by the slightly older Broly's height advantage, allowing his final kick to make contact while Goku's didn't. From here, Goku and Broly go on a quest to get the 4-star Dragon Ball. This leads to the two Saiyans completely dismantling the Red Ribbon Army. Even Tao Pai Pai isn't a challenge for them, so Master Karin's training is unnecessary. After they defeat Tao, Broly suggests that they could use the Dragon Balls to revive Grandpa Gohan, and Goku agrees. This journey for all the Dragon Balls leads to the destruction of the Red Ribbon Army, but does necessitate that they fight in Baba's tournament to find the final Dragon Ball. With Broly and Goku, the tournament is a complete breeze, but then a mysterious challenger enters the arena with a halo and a mask. This mysterious man asks to face both Broly and Goku at once, and Baba agrees so long as he's sure he can beat them. The man nods, despite knowing he can't. Broly and Goku begin their assault on the man, and are surprised to find that he's holding his own against them. Eventually, he grabs their tails and incapacitates them, swinging the two around with ease until suddenly their tails snap off. The man surrenders once this happens and reveals that he is their Grandpa Gohan. The two are overwhelmed by this and quickly run and hug their grandfather, who chastises them for not having trained their tails appropriately. He tells the two that he had been training in the afterlife, so he'd be ready for the day that they'd meet again in death. That's when Broly remembers and tells Grandpa Gohan that they are collecting the Dragon Balls so they can wish him back to life. Grandpa Gohan just smiles and tells them not to bother. In the afterlife, he can train with countless masters, and he's already lived a full life. They would meet again when the time was right. Before he leaves, Grandpa Gohan tells them to train up and enter the Tenkaichi Budokai in 3 years. He's already aware that they entered this year's. So, the two Saiyans that consider themselves brothers at this point look at each other and race off into the world, ready to face the world and train by doing so. From here, things are easy again. Ten Shinhan is a non-threat since everyone is so strong, and it's easy to convince him to join their side when he sees the failings of the Crane School in comparison. Tambourine is a joke to Krillin, so he's easily defeated and the 6 Dragon Balls are secured. Even the Demon King Piccolo is a joke, but Master Karin warns Roshi that they need to seal the Demon King away rather than kill him, or else Kami will die as well. With his power far greater than originally, Master Roshi is able to beat down Piccolo and seal him away before he can regain his youth or produce a reincarnation. This leaves us with no Piccolo Jr. in sight. Master Karin reaches out to Roshi once again and informs him that Kami wishes to meet both Broly and Goku. The two Saiyans make their way to Master Karin's tower, and the Master tells them to use the power pole to make their way even further up. They do, and they arrive at Kami's lookout, only to find Mr. Popo, who tells them that they must be tested before they are allowed to meet God. Despite Popo being more skilled than them, he is defeated by both in a one-on-one fight, which means they are allowed to meet with Kami. When he reveals himself, they are immediately startled because Kami's face is that of Piccolo's. He is barely able to avoid their attacks before explaining who he is. Kami sees a bit of himself in these two. They probably aren't from this world just like he isn't, so he wants to help them grow into better people and better fighters as well. Perhaps one day one of them could even replace him as God of Earth. Perhaps. The next Tenkaichi Budokai arrives 3 years later, and now both Goku and Broly were pretty much fully grown. Broly had been taller for some time, but was now at his full adult height. Goku still has some growing to do overall. With no Piccolo, this tournament was simply for fun. Ten Shinhan, Krillin, and even Yamcha participated. However, another contestant entered the mix as well, Chi-Chi. Goku still made a promise to marry her, and that makes sense considering Goku is the same age as her, whereas Broly is 5 years older. This leads us beautifully to the marriage of Goku and Chi-Chi, but not before the tournament concludes. The battle goes on, and slowly but surely it is clear that the finals will once again be Goku and Broly. The difference? Goku actually wins this time. Since he's no longer outranged as heavily due to Broly's height, Goku's combat prowess in terms of tactics really shines here, and it nets him a victory despite the two Saiyans being nearly even in terms of raw power. The two are rivals. No, brothers with a slight competitive edge. After the Tenkaichi Budokai, the two build houses in Mount Paozu, one for Broly and one for Goku and Chi-Chi. Times are peaceful, and Gohan is born a year later. Then, 4 years after that, there's a reunion at Master Roshi's house on his island, which is interrupted by the abrupt arrival of an unknown man with a tail. The man reveals himself to be Raditz, and more importantly, that he is Goku's older brother, but Goku tells him that he isn't and points to Broly, saying that that's his older brother. There is no way someone as cruel as Raditz could be related to him. This is of course after Raditz slapped Krillin through Kame House. However, this time Krillin brushes it off rather easily. Their powers had grown over time. Remember, Broly and Goku started the series with power levels in the 900s, so they only got stronger from there. A big part of Dragon Ball is training to overcome the power that's in front of you. The humans and side characters in the series get their biggest power boosts when they see how far ahead Goku is, and Goku gets his biggest power-ups when he sees how far ahead someone else is, so this would be no different. Raditz tries to grab Gohan, but before he can, Goku and Broly grab him and fly away from Kame House. They need to go somewhere less populated for this fight to happen unrestricted. Once they enter a wasteland, the two Saiyans take their fighting stances and power up. Raditz's scouter begins to go up until it reaches 1600 for each of them. By having each other to spar and grow stronger off of, as well as learning ki control from Kami, Goku and Broly both managed to become incredibly strong during the time skip. Individually, they've surpassed Raditz, so when they work together, the Saiyan is a joke. On his deathbed, Raditz says he can't believe how strong these two are, and his only regret was having not killed more Earthlings before he died. Broly is still calm, but Goku looks a bit more enraged by this. He asks him how many people did he kill, and Raditz simply replies, "Not enough," coughing up blood as he does. Goku tells Raditz that it doesn't matter, since they can revive these people he killed with the Dragon Balls. They can grant any wish after all. And he says, "Well, that's useful information to know. Good thing my allies were listening in on the conversation of ours." Goku and Broly know that they have to train, so they're ready for this threat, but they weren't sure what they could do. Their best option was to go back to Kami and seek his training once again. Perhaps Kami could teach them something more that could amplify their power even further. Before we dive deeper into that though, make sure you hit like and subscribe if you want to see more Dragon Ball content. Once the two Saiyans arrive at Kami's lookout, they explain what has happened and how they need to prepare themselves for the upcoming fight with the Saiyans from space. Kami looks at them to assess what they should do, and he tells them to wait a moment. Kami instantly vanishes from in front of them. He teleported to King Yema's office, where he asked if Goku and Broly could travel Snake Way in order to train with King Kai. King Yema wasn't really interested in having living beings in Otherworld, but so long as they weren't going to heaven or hell, he would let them go to Kaio's world since it technically isn't the afterlife. However, he warned Kami that should they fall off Snake Way, he would not rescue them. Kami thanks Yema and teleports back to the lookout, where he tells Goku and Broly that they will train for the next year with a god of even higher standing than himself. Goku becomes extremely excited at the prospect of training with someone stronger than Kami, but he realized that he has to do something before they go. Goku calls the Kinto-un that he and Broly used to ride together on everywhere before they learned the art of flying themselves, and he sets off to Master Roshi's island. Once there, he gets Gohan, but first he warns them that a threat is coming and they need to train for it. Goku tells them to get Ten Shinhan and Yamcha and head to Kami's lookout. He will ask Kami to train them all. Goku grabs Gohan and heads back to Mount Paozu, where he tells Chi-Chi of the upcoming threat to the world. She understands that Goku needs to train and tells him that he better get strong enough to protect the world for their son's sake. However, Goku wasn't done there. He can sense something, a power boiling inside of Gohan ready to come out. It's actually something he senses in Broly too, but Gohan's feels like it's more ready to be accessed, not suppressed by something external like Broly's is. If these Saiyans are really as strong as Raditz made them out to be, then there's a chance they'll need all the help they can get. Chi-Chi tells Goku to forget it, he has to study, and more importantly than that, he's 4 years old, a toddler. Goku thinks she's right for a second, but then Kami enters their minds and tells Chi-Chi that he could offer Gohan a godly education alongside training should she let him come to the lookout. He won't even let Gohan go to the battlefield unless absolutely needed as well. Chi-Chi didn't want to, but having Gohan be educated by God was basically a dream come true, and just like she learned martial arts to defend herself, Gohan probably should as well. Goku tells Chi-Chi she can call the Kinto-un whenever she wants to visit Gohan throughout the year, and so he sets off, heading back to Kami's lookout so he and his son can begin their training. In the original story, it took Goku over 6 months to reach the end of Snake Way, but in this version, both Goku and Broly are almost 4 times the power and speed of the original version of Goku, so they managed to make the journey in a month and a half. Luckily, they had 4 senzu each, so they were able to be nourished for the entire journey. Once they arrive on Kaio's world, they have a little less than 10 months to train with him, since the Saiyans were just over 11 months away in the original story. Notably, by training with King Kai originally, Goku got 20 times stronger, and for this version of events, we will say that the same happens to our 2 Saiyans as well, considering that they have more time, but there should also be diminishing returns when it comes to King Kai's training. So this is really a generous estimate. With this training, Goku and Broly are at power levels of 32,000 each, and now you can see that we have some strong boys on our hands. King Kai still forgets to account for the journey back along Snake Way, so Goku and Broly start heading back as quickly as they can. Luckily, their speed is immense, and it should only take them an hour to return back to Earth. Because of this, the two arrive at Kami's lookout a day before the Saiyans arrive on Earth. They meet up with the other Z-Fighters, and Goku is reunited with his son, and realizes that Kami removed the child's tail, just like he did with Goku and Broly's several years ago. Everyone is startled by the 2 Saiyans' immense strength, and that strength is without the Kaioken even being used. After a day of rest and relaxation, the battle was at hand. All of our heroes, with the exception of Gohan, fly to the wasteland and ready themselves for the arrival of the Saiyans. A city is destroyed before the Saiyans arrive at the site of their battle, and Goku is clearly furious by this senseless loss of life, so when the 2 arrive, he can't wait to fight. They split up into groups for this battle. Ten Shinhan, Krillin, and Yamcha fight Nappa, while Goku and Broly go somewhere nearby to face down Vegeta. Goku tells Broly that he'll take Vegeta on first, and Broly agrees. Vegeta powers up to his maximum and looks to see Goku cower in fear, but instead, he smiles. Goku was hoping for a good fight, but he was way out of Vegeta's league, something he'd learn very quickly. Meanwhile, Nappa is discovering something very similar. The humans in this version are much stronger due to their visible goal of Goku and Broly existing, so they were already around power levels of 1000 when arriving at Kami's lookout for training. In the original story, they went from power levels of 200 to 15 to 1800. Now, considering that's a 7 to 9 times multiplier, and Nappa is only at a power level of 4000, it isn't really that hard to picture these humans getting at least 5 times stronger from their training with Kami, and thus being well above Nappa's power level. This doesn't stop Nappa from bringing out the Cybermen to aid in the fight, and the humans treat these little creatures as a warm-up. Even when Yamcha becomes overconfident and has one explode on him, he's able to shrug it off with ease. This, of course, leads to the defeat and death of Nappa. I seem to get a good amount of people who are confused when I kill off Nappa in these stories, and while I can understand sparing Nappa in some circumstances, this just isn't one of them. There's no way a character like Ten Shinhan and even Krillin would let Nappa live after murdering a whole city. The whole not killing thing is something Goku adopted as an adult, and only for 3 arcs. Check out my Morality of Goku video if you want to learn more about that. With Nappa defeated, the humans fly over to see Goku is easily beating Vegeta. Vegeta notices that the humans are here, and that means that Nappa has been defeated. Goku eventually gets Vegeta to the point where he's willing to end him, but Vegeta begs for mercy, saying he'll leave the planet and never return if Goku lets him go. So, Goku, in a moment of naivety and open-mindedness, decides to let Vegeta go. But all is not as it seems. Vegeta wasn't trying to leave the planet. He was looking for the moon, and since Piccolo wasn't around to destroy it in this version of events, he finds the moon and begins to transform into the mighty Ozaru. Goku, Broly, and the others can sense the power growing in the distance, and they fly over to figure out what Vegeta is doing and stop it. But they're too late. They arrive to find an Ozaru Vegeta with a power level of 180,000. outclassing the Kaioken ×2 limit King Kai set for them, and even a ×4 or ×5. That doesn't stop Goku from trying though. He instantly begins to use Kaioken ×5, but it just isn't enough. The other Z fighters try to help by distracting Vegeta with small coordinated strikes, but he begins to swat them away like flies, eventually grabbing Goku and squeezing the life out of him. But where's Broly? The tall Saiyan couldn't believe his eyes. His mind races back to a time long ago, when he was still a child on Mount Paozu with Goku and Grandpa Gohan, to the night when Goku snuck outside during a full moon, to the night when Broly peeked out a window, to the night that Broly saw a monster kill his grandpa. Vegeta looked just like that monster, and because of that, the head bump couldn't stop his outburst from happening. Overflowing emotions and power came out of Broly's body, eventually turning himself into the Ikari form. This monstrous power even caused Vegeta to hesitate, but he quickly dropped Goku to go after Broly, who easily avoids Vegeta's attacks, throwing the giant monster around with extreme ease and precision. Goku shouts to Broly to calm down or he could destroy the planet, but he doesn't respond. However, Krillin hears him. As Broly begins to beat down Vegeta, Krillin goes over to Ten Shinhan and tells him he has a plan. Ten Shinhan agrees and positions himself in between Broly and Vegeta and uses the Taioken to blind both of them. When he does, Krillin uses the Kienzan on the dazed Vegeta to remove his tail, causing him to return to his base form before Broly can recover his vision. Goku is able to get up off the ground, and when Broly sees there's no monster, he begins to fall towards it, his power suppressing itself once again. Goku still had enough power to end Vegeta once and for all, so he makes his way over to the Saiyan Prince. But before he can, Broly calls to him and tells Goku not to be the monster that Vegeta is, not to be the monster that killed their grandpa. It was in that moment that Goku realized that he was the cause of his grandfather's death, so he decided that sparing Vegeta is the better option. Broly walks over to Goku and smiles, but as he does, Vegeta tries to call his spaceship to escape. Before he can, Broly notices him attempting to leave and knocks him out. Vegeta wouldn't be leaving the planet anytime soon. Vegeta is still alive and on the planet, so they need to determine what they'll do with him before anything else. They take Vegeta to a special Capsule Corps facility where he can be nursed back to good health while he's also in isolation. Once Vegeta wakes up again, Goku and Broly enter his room to have a word with him. Before we dive deeper into that, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more Dragon Ball content, and follow me on Twitch if you haven't yet. I stream there every Monday through Friday. Vegeta looks annoyed as Goku and Broly enter the room. While he knew who Goku was from Raditz, the larger Saiyan was new to him. Was he some Saiyan elite? Titles like that seem to matter little now, as Goku was deemed a low-class warrior, and his power far exceeds Vegeta's. If Goku had his tail too, Vegeta would have stood no chance whatsoever. Goku interrupts Vegeta's thoughts with a question. He asks the Saiyan Prince what his plans are once he recovers. That'll be the deciding factor as to whether or not he can be left alive. Vegeta smirks and says he'll leave the planet and they'll never see him again. Goku sighs and puts his hand on Vegeta's head, reading Vegeta's mind to see if what he's saying is the truth. In actuality, Vegeta knows that Saiyans gain immense strength when they recover from near-death experiences, and he even knows that his tail should regrow as well, so he planned to end this planet once he can fight again. Goku's face tightens, and it's obvious he's completely aggravated at the idea that Vegeta would take this opportunity for redemption to enact revenge. Goku continues to read Vegeta's mind though, and he learns more and more. The legend of the Super Saiyan, the rule of Frieza, the destruction of planet Vegeta, and how Vegeta doesn't even care. Goku removes his hand from Vegeta's head and asks why he hasn't rebelled against Frieza yet. Vegeta begrudgingly answers that he can't. He's not strong enough yet, and won't be strong enough until he becomes the Super Saiyan that he's destined to be. Goku's not too sure about that happening, since the legend says that the Super Saiyan has a pure heart, but he moves on from that point. Broly chimes in and asks if Goku saw anything about him or his transformation, but Goku said there was nothing. Vegeta tells them that Broly was unexpected. Earth should only have had Kakarot sent to it shortly before Planet Vegeta was destroyed. Goku tells Vegeta that Goten, Broly's Earth name, was sent to Earth 5 years before Planet Vegeta was destroyed. Instantly, Vegeta put the pieces together. When he was a boy, his father told him of a Saiyan that rebelled against the decision that he made. King Vegeta explained that this Saiyan tried to take advantage of the king's kindness and change the course of a pod being sent away. A true king has no time for mutiny. That lesson was about Paragus, and that meant Goten's Saiyan name is Broly. Vegeta says the name casually, having no impression of the Saiyan or even his social standing outside of his father ranking in the upper middle class of Saiyan forces. Despite knowing Broly's name and having a vague understanding of his story, Vegeta didn't know what Broly's transformation was. Vegeta hazards a guess that this rage form was Broly tapping into the power of the Ozaru without the use of his tail or the moon. That would explain how he managed to defeat Vegeta's Ozaru form at the very least. As a final question, Goku asks Vegeta whether or not they need to be worried about Frieza. Vegeta's eyes are instantly more serious. He tells Goku and Broly that as they are now, they wouldn't stand a chance against Frieza. Rebellion isn't an option yet, and the Dragon Balls are something they cannot let the deranged tyrant get his hands on, because he would wish for immortality. As Vegeta finishes speaking, a beep comes from the table next to him. It was a scouter that Bulma had repaired while looking after Vegeta's recovery. Instantly, Vegeta asks them what that's doing there, but he has no choice but to answer it.
Hello, Vegeta. Lord Frieza will be most happy with the discovery that the Namekian Wish Orbs aren't a waste of time, as we're already on planet Namek. However, he'll be less pleased to discover your duplicity. Don't worry though, we'll get our wish here on Namek rather than bothering with Earth. After Lord Frieza's immortal, we'll pay you a visit, of course. The scouter clicks off before Vegeta can even respond. Vegeta crushes the device in his hand and tells them that they have a massive issue. With Earth's current technology, it'll be some time before they can travel to Namek, and Bulma accidentally destroyed both Vegeta and Nappa's ships when trying to reverse engineer them. Kami enters Goku and Broly's minds to tell them of his spaceship, and Goku tells Kami to ask King Kai how planet Namek is holding up. King Kai checks in with Elder Guru, who is distraught but is holding his composure. The people he had renewed from the brink of extinction were now on the brink once again. There was no chance for them now, but Frieza would not get his wish since he can't speak Namekian. King Kai tells the Elder Guru that a Namekian had made their way to Earth and was the god of that planet. Guru knows that this must be the child of Katas, the child sent away before the drought overtook Namek centuries ago. Guru asked King Kai to tell the child of Katas that he is the future of their people. He tells King Kai to tell him that he has the choice to rebuild the Namekian people should he wish. The message was so distant from the life Kami has known, but at the same time, it was so personal. Kami tells Goku and Broly not to worry about going to Namek. Frieza will be busy wasting his time on Namek, only to not get his wish. They have time before his forces would arrive on Earth. Goku tells Vegeta it would be smart for them to fight together for this threat. If Vegeta can agree to that, then he'll heal Vegeta instantly. Goku puts his hand on Vegeta's head again as Vegeta answers, and tells him not to bother lying. In Vegeta's mind, Goku can see Vegeta's thought process, and he eventually comes to the realization that they needed each other if they were to be free of Frieza's rule. Goku smiles and pulls out a Senzu for Vegeta. He eats it and is instantly back to full strength. A Zenkai comes with the restoration, and he's now at a power level of 24,000. He was now above Kiwi, Zarbon, and Dodoria, but that still wasn't as strong as Goku or Broly, and it wasn't even 5% of Frieza's power in his first form. They would need to train for some time before Frieza arrives on Earth. Due to the destruction of the Scouters and just the general timing of Frieza collecting the Dragon Balls on Namek,
there would be at least 2 months before he collects the Dragon Balls in total, and a little while after that before he gives up on trying to use the Wish Orbs entirely. During this time, Goku, Vegeta, and Broly train in a gravity room created by Dr. Brief. Goku knew that gravity training was the best way to grow at this point in the story, so he would ask for it to be created the same way he asked for it to be added to his spaceship in the original story. Remember, in 6 days, Goku went from a power level of somewhere above 8,000 to a power level over 90,000. In this version, not only do they have months to train, but they also have each other to spar with, which even Whis claims is the best way for Saiyans to grow. With all that considered, the power increase here would be ridiculous. Even lowballing the multiplier for training here to 20 times for every 6 days, which is a massive lowball considering they are training with each other and the gravity room can go up to 500 times, and making the time frame 2 months and 6 days, the last 6 days being there because we know that's how long it takes Frieza Force Tech to travel from Earth to Namek, we get crazy power levels for our Saiyan warriors. The power levels are Goku and Broly at 7.04 million and Vegeta at 5.28 million. This makes them stronger than any of Frieza's forms except his final form, and that's not even taking into account the Kaioken. Finally, the day has arrived. Frieza comes to Earth with the remainder of his army after Nail did what he could to stop the eradication of the Namekian race. Only the Ginyu Force and Frieza himself were on Nail's level, and since the Ginyu Force weren't on Namek at this time, Frieza had no choice but to intervene to not only end Nail, but eventually the non-compliant Grand Elder as well. The Ginyu Force also make their way to Earth with Frieza. They struggled to take over Yardrat, so they left the planet for now to help secure Earth before returning. The Dragon Balls were assembled at Kami's lookout before Frieza and his forces arrived, and everything was ready for the big confrontation. Frieza immediately orders the Ginyu Force to go and collect the Earth Dragon Balls, hoping they pan out better than the Namekian ones did. They fly from their ships, but within seconds their bodies are piled up in front of Frieza. Goku, Broly, and Vegeta wouldn't let them go anywhere. During their training, it was agreed that Vegeta would go first, so the Saiyan Prince steps forward to enact his revenge on the self-proclaimed Emperor of the Universe. Frieza laughs and asks if Vegeta really thinks he'll be able to win. Without a word, Vegeta powers up, breaking most of the scouters on Frieza's foot soldiers except the one high threshold scouter that they have, a scouter used only to measure Frieza. The reading was well over 5 million, and Frieza realized this wouldn't be a challenge he could take lightly. Frieza powers up and transforms straight into his final form, but is not at full power in order to conserve stamina. This means Frieza's current max power level was 60 million. The ki that the 3 Saiyans were feeling is completely overwhelming, but Vegeta wasn't afraid as he still has one ace up his sleeve. Frieza laughs and tells Vegeta he should just give up before he begins. A warrior like him would still make a very useful ally. However, Vegeta just laughs at the offer. He lets out a powerful yell and transforms into the Ikari form. That's right, during their training, the 3 Saiyans learn to access the Ikari form at will. This means Vegeta's power level is now almost 53 million. While this was enough to keep up with Frieza while also putting up a good fight, it wasn't enough to surpass the Tyrant. After the two fight at faster than light speeds over the course of minutes, Vegeta was clearly being worn down. It was obvious that Frieza was about to go for the kill, so Goku looks to Broly and they step in to save Vegeta. They both enter their Ikari forms and knock Frieza away long enough that they could pull Vegeta back, giving him a Senzu to not only recover, but get a Zenkai as well. Vegeta is now equal to Broly and Goku in terms of power level, but even with that power increase, something is growing even more quickly in the distance. It's Frieza, and he's entering his full power form. Frieza's power level has reached 120 million. Even in their Ikari forms, Goku, Broly, and Vegeta just weren't enough to handle him. But that wouldn't stop them from trying. The three Saiyans with power levels over 70 million were doing their best to just land attacks, but even when one fist or blast would land, Frieza would chuckle and counter faster than they could ever hope to react to. Their coordination was decent, but a power gap like this wasn't able to be overcome through good teamwork alone. They are able to pull away from Frieza for just a moment, and Frieza begins to gloat about his power. While he does, Goku tells the other two to stand back. He has one final idea that could win the fight for them. Broly understands, but Vegeta just thinks he's going to get himself killed. Goku tells Broly to start preparing a backup plan just in case he can't win. Broly understands and steps back to think. Vegeta decides he'll watch what Goku has in store. Goku steps up to Frieza and tells Frieza to leave now or he won't get a second chance. Frieza spits at the ground and tells Goku he has no interest in Saiyan jokes. Goku smiles and begins to power up. His aura turns red and his power doubles. With a powerful yell, Goku says the technique's name, Kaioken. For right now, the most he can stack on the Ikari form is a 2x multiplier, putting him at a power level of 140 million, which would be enough to beat Frieza if he could sustain it. But he can't. To actually fight Frieza, he has to turn it on and off, hoping that his body holds out long enough for him to win the fight. Frieza and Goku go back and forth, Goku taking advantage of the moments the Kaioken is active, while Frieza takes advantage of the moments that it isn't. This was clearly an intense struggle, and as the battle rages on, the sky goes dark, only to turn light again a moment later. Neither notice, as they need to focus on the opportunities to strike the moment that they happen. After a final clashing of fists, Goku and Frieza are both exhausted. Goku loses Kaioken and Ikari, while Frieza still has enough stamina to finish the job. Before he can though, Vegeta grabs Goku and moves him far away from Frieza. The Emperor had forgotten about Vegeta and the other Saiyan. Maybe his stamina wouldn't hold out long enough if he didn't act quickly. But where is the other Saiyan? Above Frieza, an energy ball has been formed. Powered by the Earth, the solar system, and even the now revived Namekians that Broly had Kami bring back to life. A truly powerful Genki Dama that even surpasses the one Goku used in the original version of the Frieza Saga. Vegeta had even contributed a bit as well, but only to ensure that he played a part in the death of Frieza. The Genki Dama lands and starts to engulf the evil Emperor, but then it begins to be pushed back. Frieza's full power form was holding its own against the Genki Dama and may even surpass it. He continued to struggle against the attack until finally his stamina gives out and he returns to his 50% form, and in a powerful explosion, Frieza is defeated. The Namekians and the Saiyans had their vengeance, and peace was back again. Goku and Broly went back to Mount Paozu and even continued to train alongside Gohan when Chi-Chi would let them. Vegeta moved into Capsule Corp, and perhaps his relationship with Bulma could begin soon. As we all know, peace never lasts long in Dragon Ball. All was not well in the world. As the days move on, peaceful months become peaceful years. But in the mountains around North City, a scientist is seeking his revenge on the two boys that destroyed the Red Ribbon Army. This scientist is Dr. Gero, who has been monitoring and tinkering for many years so he can finally have his revenge on Goku and Broly. Before we get into that though, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for more Dragon Ball content, and while you're at it, follow me on Twitch for live streams every Monday through Friday. This Monday in particular, we'll actually be covering the latest Dragon Ball Super manga chapter, so I hope to see you there. As Dr. Gero frantically works on creating the perfect artificial life forms, a mysterious stranger appears in a strange aircraft on Mount Paozu. This was none other than Trunks. The young Saiyan had come to the past to warn Goku about the heart virus and to give him the medicine to cure it. Trunks also warns Goku that soon 2 androids will appear and terrorize the world. They will need to prepare themselves for this battle. As Trunks is speaking to Goku, a key catches the attention of Goku, Broly, and Trunks. Trunks asks if Vegeta has killed King Cold yet, but Goku doesn't even know who that is. With a sigh of defeat, Trunks realizes that time travel may have affected the past more than he expected, but he tells them to handle King Cold on their own, since they could do that in the future timeline as well. Goku and Broly nod, flying toward the large power they're sensing, while Trunks gets back into his time machine. As he prepares to return to the future, he sees a young boy looking at him. It's Gohan, the past counterpart to the man that was his mentor in the future. A mentor no longer with Trunks in the future. Gohan walks towards the time machine and asks if Trunks thinks the future will really be changed. While he hoped that was true, there's no way to know until it's all said and done. Trunks exits the time machine to chat with Gohan more. While he had the chance, Gohan asked if a few years of training would really make a difference. Trunks isn't sure, but it's their best chance. Even with the new power he unlocked in the future, it wasn't enough to stop the androids. That's when it hits him. Trunks thanks Gohan, but he tells him that he should go over to where the power reading is coming from. Gohan watching the battle against King Cold is a vital part of history. Gohan nods and flies towards his father's key. After Gohan is out of sight, Trunks turns the time machine back into a capsule and sits under a tree, waiting for Goku, Broly, and Gohan to return from their underwhelming battle. Speaking of the battle, King Cold has landed on the planet and demands to confront the person who killed his son. Broly steps forward, but Vegeta cuts in front of him, telling Broly that he already had his turn with Frieza. Broly and Goku step back. As they do, Gohan arrives and stands with them to watch Vegeta fight King Cold. King Cold laughs in Vegeta's face, remembering how King Vegeta would bow before him without hesitation. It was time to teach his son that lesson as well. Cold raises his fist and readies himself for battle, but before he could even react, Vegeta had transformed into his Ikari form. With little difficulty, Vegeta blitzes King Cold and finishes him with ease. Vegeta was obviously annoyed at how little of a challenge he was. While Vegeta was a good amount stronger than he was when Frieza came to Earth in the last part, it was still clear that Cold was not at Frieza's level. With Cold dead, Vegeta destroys the rest of his army and his ship without a second thought. So ends the Frieza and Cold Empire that had ruled the universe for so very long. Vegeta immediately flies home to continue his training, so Goku, Broly, and Gohan head home as well. They are surprised to find that Trunks is still there. Trunks gets up and walks towards them. He says there's one thing he needs to tell them. Without so much as a breath of delay, Trunks transforms into a Super Saiyan. In his timeline, he was the first of these since Yamoshi, a transformation spurred on by the death of his mentor, Gohan. The power was incredible, but he was just too weak to make full use of the form. Goku and Broly are blown away by the power they're sensing. They instantly realize that they need the ability to transform in this way as well. Trunks tells them that 3 years remain until the androids will arrive. If they can master this new form before then, they should be at the very least stronger than Trunks, and maybe even stronger than the androids. Trunks pulls out his time machine again and begins to depart. He waves and tells them he'll come back in 3 years when the androids arrive to help them out. So, they get in touch with the others and tell them what's going on. Tenshinhan, Krillin, and Yamcha decide to train together for the upcoming threat so that they aren't dead weight, but Vegeta says he'll master this transformation before anyone because it's obvious. That form has to be the Super Saiyan. Goku tells Vegeta that they know it's better to train together, so why don't they train with each other for this? Vegeta would normally reject the idea, but Goku and Broly will far surpass him if he lets them train on their own, so he agrees. Gohan also speaks up and says he wants to train too. Goku looks surprised hearing this, but he smiles. Gohan doesn't want to be a fighter, he wants to help, and the power inside him is ready to come forth if they train him the right way. Goku agrees, so Goku, Broly, and Gohan make a temporary move to Capsule Corp, where they can have easy access to the Gravity Room. Chi-Chi comes with them to make sure Gohan studies as well, and Bulma assures her that he'll be taught by the private Capsule Corp tutors. An education from Kami and from the high-end tutors of Capsule Corp was really setting Gohan up for a life of success as a scholar. As I said, he's still training with the other Saiyans, and their first mission was to transform into Super Saiyans. Vegeta asked how this visitor from the future did it, and Goku tells Vegeta that Trunks lost somebody close to him. Trauma triggered the transformation. This wasn't something that they could brute force. They had to each find their own reasons for transforming. For Goku, he used the memory of finding Grandpa Gohan's body. For Vegeta, he used the feelings of failure he's had since he couldn't kill Frieza and avenge his people. It took a long time, but for Gohan, he used the idea of those he loved dying. Finally, Broly remembered the death of Grandpa Gohan as well, and used that to fail at the transformation. For some reason, Broly was unable to become a Super Saiyan. Perhaps the head bump suppressing his power was the cause. Regardless of the reason, Broly couldn't transform into a Super Saiyan. He would need to acquire a different path of strength. So, 3 years pass, and the Z-Fighters assemble at the location Trunks specified. They hunted the androids through the city, and Yamcha was once again the unfortunate one to find them first, which takes our story in a similar direction for the time being. Goku fights Android 19 first, he starts to feel the symptoms of the heart virus and is taken away by Yamcha. Vegeta is already there, so he takes on Android 19 instead, and despite him being stronger than originally, Vegeta still has to use his full power and rely on getting some of his energy absorbed since Android 19 had absorbed the energy from Goku before fighting him. This still creates the opportunity for Dr. Gero to escape as he did originally. In their pursuit of Gero, Vegeta tries to destroy the wasteland in order to find Gero, but Gero jumps out and absorbs the energy, granting him more power and speed for his escape. Eventually, this leads to all the Z-Fighters searching for Gero independently, and without Piccolo, Gero jumps Broly instead. He absorbs some of Broly's energy, and this alerts the others to what's going on through the ki declining. Gohan knocks Gero off of Broly, Krillin throws Broly a Senzu, and Broly steps up to fight the android. In a show of sheer confidence, Gero begins to maniacally laugh. He had already absorbed a blast from Vegeta, Yamcha's energy, and even Broly's own energy. There was no way Broly could even remotely compete with him. He thought that, until his power readings began to spike upwards. Broly was transforming into his Ikari form, something the Doctor was well aware of for some time, and thus expected, but the growth in power was beyond the normal readings. The reading was 2, 3, 4, no, 5 times higher than it should have been. Broly was glowing in a blinding red aura. The truth was revealed that Broly had obtained the ability to use the Ikari form with Kaioken, just as Goku did, and he even surpassed Goku's 2 times limit. With the Kaioken times 5 Ikari form, Broly was the equivalent of a Super Saiyan in sheer multiplier. Vegeta and Gohan knew that the fight was over now. However, just like in the original, the arrival of Trunks and Bulma created the opportunity for the android to escape once again. The notable difference here is that Vegeta saves Bulma and baby Trunks unlike the original Vegeta. His character arc has been heavily accelerated due to his time on Earth being far greater. At this point, Vegeta is far more similar to an early Buu arc Vegeta in terms of character. From here, things stay fairly consistent for a bit. Gohan flies Bulma and Trunks back to Capsule Corp. Yajirobe isn't in this story because they never met him. Gero manages to release the androids before the rest of the Z-Fighters can find him. Android 17 and 18 kill Gero and release Android 16. Android 18 bodies Vegeta. Android 17 bodies everybody that isn't Krillin. Goku is out for the count and getting medicine to recover. Bulma tells Trunks about the second time machine. Goku gets moved to Kame House, and that lands us right at the point where Ginger Town is under attack. Kami can sense the disturbance in the world and sees what's going on in Ginger Town. He tells the Z-Fighters to bring Goku to the lookout where he will be better hidden from the androids. Everyone makes their way to the lookout except for Vegeta and Trunks. Vegeta wanders off because of his loss to Android 18, and Trunks follows him to make sure he doesn't do anything too rash. While Cell is running around eating cities, Kami is helpless and can't send anyone there to fight him as he only grows stronger by the moment. Around the time the androids check Kame House for him, Goku wakes up on the lookout and looks onto the world below. He knows what they have to do to win this fight. Goku tells Bulma to take him to Vegeta. They need to suppress their power to remain undetected on the lookout to buy as much time as possible. Goku has the same conversation he had with Vegeta in the original story, except he doesn't mention the Room of Spirit and Time because he doesn't know it exists yet. However, he offers Vegeta the option to train together to discover the path beyond Super Saiyan. Vegeta agrees that the Super Saiyan wall will require their combined efforts to overcome, so Vegeta and Trunks get on Bulma's ship and they go back to the lookout. Once there, they tell Kami of their plan, but they need to buy time, and they need to find out what the monster-killing cities actually wants. Broly looks back at Goku and says he'll figure it out. Goku says he won't survive something that rash, but Broly tells him not to worry. Worst case scenario, the Dragon Balls are on the lookout so they can just revive him, but he doubts that that'll need to happen. Broly knows that he's the only Saiyan that can turn Super Saiyan as well, so right now his job is to buy time for them to break through the Super Saiyan wall. Before he leaves, he tells Kami to keep a telepathic link so Broly can tell him anything important. With that, Broly jumps off the lookout and calls the Kinto-un to fly him towards Cell undetected. Broly arrives in a city under siege by Cell, and he immediately blasts Cell in the back. The person he was holding is dropped and scurries away.
Goten, or should I call you Broly? I never expected to see you here.
Broly is shocked to hear both of his names said by the monstrous Cell, and he asks Cell what he's planning to do. Cell just laughs and powers up. Instantly, Broly can sense the powers of Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, King Cold, and even himself. What is going on here?
That should make you even more confused. All you need to know is I'm the Doctor's greatest creation.
Broly realizes he's talking about Dr. Gero.
Those androids are nothing but a meal for me to become the ultimate being. Too bad they weren't around in my timeline.
That was all Broly needed to know. Broly smiles and takes a deep breath.
Then I have to stop you, right here.
Meanwhile, on the lookout, Kami tells the Saiyans about the Room of Spirit and Time. Vegeta tells Goku that Trunks and him are going in first. Goku is fine with that, he'd rather make sure Broly doesn't die. So Vegeta and Trunks enter the time machine, but the big difference here is that Vegeta and Trunks actually train with one another because of Vegeta's early character growth in the story. Back on Earth, Cell looks at Broly with a bit of confusion. He just showed the power he's acquired, and he really thinks he stands a chance still. This must be a joke. As Cell's thoughts race with possibilities, Broly's power begins to spike. First the Ikari form, then the Kaioken times 5. This was all known to Cell. A 5 times Kaioken was expected and was still weaker than Cell himself, so what was Broly planning? Cell gets ready to attack, but he notices that Broly isn't in a fighting stance yet.
It might kill me, but this is my best chance.
With one further push, Broly raises the multiplier of the Kaioken to times 10. Broly obtained this power from his body growing stronger after losing to the androids and recovering. With this, he may be able to beat Cell if he moves quickly. Broly launches forward at Cell and strikes the monster before he can counterattack. Each hit Broly lands is followed by a delayed reaction from Cell. It's obvious that Cell is at a massive disadvantage here, and Broly is ready to end Cell in one final attack. However, just as he's about to land the finishing blow, Broly's body spasms due to the strain of the Kaioken times 10. He was using it for far too long. The aura didn't wear off immediately though, so Cell simply took the opportunity to use the solar flare and escapes. Broly was alive, but his body needed to recover from the trauma it endured, so he went back to the lookout on the Kinto-un and divulged Cell's plans to Kami. Everyone else overheard what Broly said, and Gohan and Bulma nod in agreement that Cell must be the user of the second time machine that they found. If he's really from the future, that means a version of him already exists in this timeline. Maybe they missed something at Dr. Gero's lab. So, while they still had over half a day before Vegeta and Trunks would exit the Room of Spirit and Time, Bulma and Broly head back to the location of Gero's lab to search for something the Z-Fighters may have missed. Once they arrive, they find a hidden underground lab with schematics for the androids. Bulma is pretty sure that they can use these to stop the androids and by extension stop Cell from achieving his perfection. However, the key would be finding something in the schematics to stop the androids, and fighting the androids before Cell does as well. This was not an easy task by any means, since the androids were randomly looking for Goku, and Cell was looking for the androids, following their trail of destruction while they do whatever they want to get whatever they want. Though notably, they avoid killing in most of these things. Mostly they focused on stealing rather than actually attacking individuals. Cell was able to follow this spree of crime and eventually ran into them, the androids that would make him perfect. Broly and Goku could sense Cell powering up, but they knew they were no match for him now that he had absorbed more people. Goku looks back to the time chamber and hopes that Vegeta will exit soon. He's a prodigy, and it shouldn't take him this long to overcome the Super Saiyan wall with Trunks in there with him. As Goku thinks this, Cell gets a drastic power-up. He's absorbed Android 17. Luckily, Ten Shinhan senses it as well and flies over to Cell's key as quickly as he can. Once he arrives, he can see Android 16 holding Cell back from Android 18 with all of his might, but his grip was failing. Ten Shinhan can see that Android 16 is actively working against Cell, so he feels bad, but he has no choice. A powerful Shin Kikoho is shot by Ten Shinhan, and it breaks away Android 16 while pushing Cell into the Earth itself. Ten Shinhan knew his power couldn't last, and Android 18 would need to run and hide quickly if they were to have any hope of surviving. Or so he thought. That's when he sensed two incredibly powerful beings flying his way. It was Trunks and Vegeta. The two have exited the time chamber and are ready to face Cell after finding out about him from Goku and the others. Things realign perfectly here, outside of Goku getting Ten Shinhan. Unfortunately, Ten Shinhan loses his life due to overexertion from spamming the Shin Kikoho, but with the Dragon Balls, they can bring him back. Unfortunately, Vegeta's early character growth doesn't include his arrogance, as even in the early Buu arc, he constantly underestimates not only the minions of Babidi, but also Buu himself. This allows Cell to become perfect just as he did originally, and despite Vegeta and Trunks being a bit stronger than they were in the original story, they just stand no chance against him. This of course leads to the announcement of the Cell games, and with that, a 10-day wait to train in the Room of Spirit and Time, or to relax with light training in the case of Gohan and Goku. Once they exit, Broly has decided to enter next, then Vegeta and Trunks would share their last time in the time chamber together to maximize results. Vegeta scoffs at Broly going in since he has no Super Saiyan form to master, so he's wasting a slot, but Goku disagrees. Broly is the reason they've won their last two major fights. If anyone has the potential for greatness, it's Broly. And maybe one other person. Intentionally being vague, Goku leaves the lookout to return home. He doesn't ask Karin about Cell, nor does he check on Cell himself. He has a feeling he might not be enough, but he has two backup plans just in case. So, the final 9 days pass and everyone arrives at the arena. Notably, Vegeta and Trunks learned from Goku to master Super Saiyan rather than pushing their bodies beyond their limits. This means they are also Super Saiyan Grade 4 when they arrive at the arena. Broly was unable to access Super Saiyan still, so he focused on mastering the Ikari form further and increasing his ability to maintain higher multipliers of Kaioken on top of it. While he was stronger than before, it was clear the order of power for the full-blood Saiyans was Goku, Vegeta, then Broly. Goku, Vegeta, and even Trunks were all close to one another, but Gohan was a bit different. It seemed like there was more power within him than he was acting like. Once again, the first to enter the arena after Mr. Satan is Goku. After warming up, Cell and Goku power up to full, but it's clear right away that this Cell isn't the one from the original story. Remember, he has Broly's DNA as well. With Broly's DNA and no physical extremity like the head bump that our protagonist Broly has to hold his dormant power back, Cell's ki was monstrous, to the point that Goku couldn't even remotely keep up. Cell thinks to himself that this isn't fun at all, and he decides to end the fight quickly, but not with a knockout or ring out. Cell charges a Kamehameha at an unconscious Goku, powerful enough to kill him and angled high enough not to destroy the planet so he could continue his Cell game. Gohan screams for Cell to stop, and Broly charges in with his Ikari form and a Kaioken times 20 on top of it. It doesn't matter though. Cell is just too fast, and his blast hits Goku before Broly can even reach Cell. Broly puts his hands on his head, distraught at his own powerlessness, while Gohan screams with tears rolling from his eyes. Both snap and awaken a dormant power within themselves. Broly turns into a Super Saiyan while in the Ikari form, the same form he used in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, and Gohan enters Super Saiyan 2, becoming the first one in history. Their rage and power is undeniable. Together, they toss around Cell with ease. Eventually, he spits up Android 18 because of a punch from Gohan, and then he spits up Android 17 because of a punch from Broly. Cell is imperfect once again, so Broly and Gohan combine their Kamehamehas to finish off Cell once and for all. The battle and the day are won, but Broly is still raging out with no control over his newly acquired form. Gohan tries to console Broly, but he can't break through to him, so he has no choice. Gohan calls over Trunks and Vegeta to help him. Then, with them as distractions, he hits Broly in the head to knock him out. Luckily, Gohan hit Broly's head bump, which knocked Broly out of the form, then out of consciousness as well. They carry Broly, and all of them head for the lookout, where they revive not only Ten Shinhan, but Goku as well, since neither have been revived with the Dragon Balls before. As always happens, peace returns to Earth, but this time it sticks for over 7 years. So there's time for training, growing, and learning before the Buu arc even begins. After Goku's death at the hands of Cell, Gohan and Broly have found powers within themselves that they never knew existed. However, both would need to train in these forms if they were ever going to control the emotional instability that comes with them. This was much easier for Gohan to do than Broly, and even after 7 years, Broly's rage seemed a detriment to using the form, so he put it to the side for now. With the world at peace and a new Tenkaichi Budokai on the horizon, Broly, Goku, and Gohan are excited to give it their all. They've got to win and bring home the prize money. However, we know that isn't how things play out here. Before we get into that though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you want more Dragon Ball content. And while you're at it, follow me on Twitch for live streams every single weekday. It's been 7 years since the fated battle against Cell, and in that time, Goku's second child, Goten, was born. As the days until the Tenkaichi Budokai wind down, our heroes are training to get the final bits of strength they can, and Gohan even teaches his classmate Videl how to fly and use ki. Finally, the day of the tournament arrives. The junior division gives Trunks and Goten less fun than they had hoped for, and it goes the way it had originally, with Trunks barely beating Goten. This leads us to the adult division, where the events of the arc start to change more noticeably. For starters, there's no Piccolo in our story, so the one to face Shin in the tournament is Broly. Having no godly intuition from Kami like Piccolo had, Broly fights the Supreme Kai with all he has and beats him in their fight, an outcome that even Shin didn't foresee. Goku asks about Shin, and Broly says that something about him is strange. There's no ki that either can detect, so it's hard to get a read on him. Next up to fight are Videl and Spopovich, which goes the same way it had originally, the only difference being that Gohan can control his rage better in this version of events due to his training. This leads him to be less emotional against Kibito in their fight, but still, Gohan turns Super Saiyan 2, showing a power far greater than the original story. This is when Yamu and Spopovich jump Gohan while Shin restrains him with telekinesis. While they manage to drain a lot of energy from Gohan, he's just too strong to be restrained by Shin for very long, and he breaks free, knocking both of them away. Thinking they collected enough energy from him, Yamu and Spopovich flee as quickly as they can. Kibito heals Gohan quickly due to him not having all of his energy drained, and they are able to pursue Spopovich and Yamu with Goku and Shin. So, while flying to Babidi's ship, Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Gohan, and Krillin are all given the exposition regarding Buu and Babidi. When they arrive outside of Babidi's ship, they hide in the nearby rock formations to wait for the right opportunity to strike. That's when Shin and Kibito notice Dabura is in the service of Babidi as well. This changes things as the King of Demons is not a foe to be taken lightly. That's when Spopovich and Yamu are killed and Dabura attacks our heroes. He first blasts Kibito, but with a quick reaction, Broly kicks him away by transforming into his Ikari form and using the Kaioken. This leaves no opportunity for Dabura to spit on anyone there, so Gohan tells Krillin to go tell Kami what's going on and to collect the Dragon Balls. Krillin nods and flies off. After that, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Broly enter the ship, ready to do whatever it takes to stop the resurrection of Majin Buu. Once they enter the ship, Pui Pui is the first to face them. As happened originally, Vegeta takes him out with ease, and Babidi uses the energy that Spopovich and Yamu collected to begin Buu's resurrection process. To the surprise of Babidi and Dabura, the energy collected was enough to fill the revival gauge up to 75%. He was stronger now than in the original, and in the original, Gohan filled the container over halfway with pretty much all of his energy being taken. Next up was Yakon, and Goku was able to take him out as he did originally. In the 7-year time skip, Goku had mastered Super Saiyan 2 as well, just like he did in the original story, which allowed him to overpower Yakon with ease. Next up is Dabura. However, Gohan and Broly still haven't had a chance to fight. They both play rock, paper, scissors for a chance to fight him, and Broly wins. Vegeta scoffs, saying that Broly might not be enough since Dabura is stronger than Cell. Remember, Cell never became super perfect like he did in the original story, so he shouldn't match up to Dabura even with a Broly power-up. Broly powers up into Ikari Kaioken times 20 and begins to battle Dabura. Seemingly the two are even, though it's hard to be sure. Vegeta starts to grow impatient and Dabura notices it. He retreats to tell Babidi that Vegeta is perfect for mind control. Babidi inspects Vegeta and can feel the evil within his heart. Once he says the magic words, an M appears on Vegeta's forehead and his power increases rapidly. Dabura steps back out, ready to fight alongside his new ally, but as he does, Vegeta charges forward and blasts Dabura along with the entire ship to pieces. Remember, Vegeta's character development has been accelerated in this version of events, so he wouldn't let himself be controlled by Babidi. As was even pointed out in the original story, Vegeta has the power to overcome the mind control, and this Vegeta is stronger due to Goku being on Earth for the 7 years. With the ship in pieces, it seemed like the day was won, but Babidi had protected himself with a force field at the last minute. Supreme Kai walks over to Babidi ready to finish him once and for all, but then a blast hits him in the back, knocking out the Kai. It seems that the fight with Dabura let off enough energy for Buu's resurrection to reach 90% completion, and the explosion of Vegeta's blast set the monster free early, just as Shin feared it might. In short, Buu is now out, and the only things standing between him and the Earth are 4 Saiyans. Babidi laughs maniacally, but at 90%, could Buu really be able to take out all 4 of our heroes? Even at 90% resurrection, Buu was extremely formidable. His regeneration was still extremely tricky, and his energy seemed to keep rising the longer he was out. They needed to take him out in one attack. So Vegeta charged up to full power, now fully being able to use the power that Babidi unlocked for him. Gohan utilized his rage with Super Saiyan 2, Broly pushed himself to a Kaioken times 30, and Goku revealed the form he had been working on in secret for years, Super Saiyan 3. Arguably, any one of these individuals could kill Buu, but combined, they were guaranteed to do it. Combining their most powerful attacks, Buu was eradicated from the face of the earth once and for all, and then Babidi follows quickly after. Broly quickly ran over to the fainted Supreme Kai, and they take him to Karin's tower to get a Senzu. Once healed, they fly up to Kami's lookout, where they use a wish to revive all good people killed by Babidi and his minions, including Kibito. As an act of gratitude, Shin asked if any of them would like to train under his watch, and with the most powerful weapon in the universe, the Z-Sword. Goku tells them that Chi-Chi probably wouldn't let him do that since he promised to get a job, Gohan has schoolwork to do, and Vegeta just doesn't care about what they have to offer. But Broly has no ties to Earth outside of the people he's with right now, so Goku says he should take this opportunity, and Broly agrees. So, for the next 4 years, they go their separate ways. Broly trains with the Z-Sword and eventually breaks it because Shin tries to test it with Kachin like he did in the future timeline of the main series. Goku starts farming but continues to train alongside Goten and Gohan. Gohan gets married and all seems well on Earth until the day of Bulma's birthday. On this day, the god of destruction, Beerus, began his search for the Super Saiyan God after finally remembering his name. This search begins when Whis looks into his staff and sees that most Saiyans are on Earth currently, but one in particular is currently in the realm of the Kaioshin. Obviously, a Saiyan in a godly realm would be the most likely candidate to be the Super Saiyan God, so Beerus tells Whis to pack a bento box so they can begin the long journey to the realm of the Kaioshin. It takes them well over an hour to travel to this holy realm outside the universe, but their arrival is expected as they're greeted by none other than the Elder Kai. Beerus snarls at the Kai, asking how he broke out of the sword that he trapped him in millions of years ago. Shin comes forward and apologizes for freeing him, as it was entirely an accident since they thought the sword was a holy weapon of great power. Beerus tells Whis to make sure that next time they need a sword that it's far stronger than the one they used for him. Whis asks if he'd like one right now, but Beerus says he'll let the Kai remain free for the moment. Elder Kai lets out a sigh of relief, but Shin asks what brings Beerus to their realm if not the Elder Kai. Beerus looks past the two Kais and says that the Saiyan training in the back there is what interests him the most. Broly runs over and bows to Beerus, but Beerus cuts to the chase and asks if Broly knows anything called the Super Saiyan God. Broly says that he doesn't, but he does know about Super Saiyans. Beerus then proceeds to inspect Broly and says that he doesn't seem powerful enough to contend with Frieza as he was told by Whis. Obviously, Broly is just suppressed in his base form right now, but that doesn't stop Beerus from thinking he knows Broly's limits. So, Broly shows Beerus his Ikari form and even the Kaioken on top of it. Beerus begins to become interested, but says that power is still nothing compared to himself. Broly lets a smile slip and he powers down from the Kaioken. While training with Shin and the Elder Kai, he was granted a new power, something beyond his normal limitations. While still in his Ikari form, Broly powers up even further, pushing the boundary of his limitations to even greater heights. In terms of appearance, Broly looked like his normal Ikari form, but his power was drastically different. Once Elder Kai was released from the Z-Sword, he could immediately sense Broly's potential and unlocked it for him, as a thank you for setting him free from his unjust punishment. After unlocking his potential, Broly realized that this power was something he could actually control. No emotional instability like Super Saiyan on his Ikari form, or anything like that at all. After getting this form, he learned how to use this ultimate form on top of the Ikari form. By combining both, he no longer needed to even consider the Super Saiyan forms. Broly had finally found a way to utilize his power and make it his own. Beerus begins to get excited by the power output, and he says he'd like to spar with Broly as a warm-up for the Super Saiyan God. While the fight in the realm of the Kaioshin takes place, Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta can sense the power spike back on Earth. It's been years since they've seen Broly, but they recognize his key signature immediately. Goku is shocked and proud to realize that Broly has surpassed him once again. The training with the Kais really paid off for him. Gohan, on the other hand, was a bit concerned. If Broly was forced to use that much power on an enemy, how strong could that foe be? Goku tells him not to worry about it, and they return to the party. Back in the realm of the Kaioshin, Broly had managed to at the very least force Beerus to block, but it wasn't enough. Beerus chops him on the back of the neck and leaves him unconscious before heading to Earth. Kibito runs over to heal Broly after Beerus leaves, and Broly asks if there's anything they can do to save Earth, or at the very least find out what the Super Saiyan God is. Elder Kai says he'll search the universe using his crystal ball for any info. Broly says he's going to train until they have something to work with. Back on Earth, Beerus has arrived and is enjoying the party. Vegeta is terrified by his presence and is doing his best to keep him pleased as the party continues. Vegeta tells Gohan to make sure that Goku doesn't find out who Beerus is or he'll want to fight him, and that won't end well for anyone. Before Gohan can stop him though, Beerus asks Goku if he knows about the Super Saiyan God. Goku says he knows about Super Saiyans, but nothing about a Super Saiyan God. Beerus asks to see the Super Saiyan that he's heard so much about, and Goku transforms. Instantly, Vegeta and Gohan are on edge, but it's too late. Beerus was itching for another fight. He begins to go after Goku, and the two spar above the ocean. Beerus remarks that the Saiyans have come a long way in the 39 years he's been asleep, but still, the other Saiyan was far stronger. This annoys Goku a little bit, and he transforms into Super Saiyan 3. Beerus smiles at the notable power increase, so the two continue their battle, but it's clear that Beerus has an overwhelming advantage. It seems like Beerus is about to destroy Goku once and for all, but then Broly is back on Earth thanks to the Kai Kai. He screams to Beerus that he's found a Super Saiyan God, or at least how to create one. After searching the universe with the crystal ball, the Super Saiyan God was discovered to come from a ritual requiring 5 Saiyans with pure hearts pouring their power into another. So now it was time to decide who would become the Super Saiyan God. At first they thought Broly would be perfect, so they try the ritual with him, and it fails. Whis chimes in, "It seems that Saiyan has a natural instability that won't allow him to use something like God Ki. I do see some merit in this ritual though, so please, feel free to try again with another Saiyan." So, on the second attempt, they decide Goku would be the next best option. Because of this, Goku becomes the first Super Saiyan God as he did in the original story and battles Beerus. This leads us to the same ending of the arc as originally happened, and peace returns to Earth after the Battle of Gods. Goku and Vegeta head to Beerus' world to train with Whis after a while, and Broly takes Gohan to occasionally train with him in the realm of the Kaioshin. He even has Elder Kai unlock his potential as well. The days from here out were looking brighter than ever, until one day, Earth's sky went dark, and a presence came back to the planet that hadn't been felt in some time. A wish was made on the Dragon Balls, and it had alerted Kami to a presence on the planet that he hadn't felt in years. With the Saiyans off-world currently, he'd have to wait for one of them to return before he could inform them what was happening. Before we get into that though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more Dragon Ball content, and while you're at it, follow me on Twitch for live streams pretty much every weekday. Finally, a day came where Gohan returned to Earth. It is a month after the wish was made, so Kami quickly enters the mind of Gohan to tell him that Frieza has been brought back to life. Gohan can't believe it, but he tells Kami that Frieza is just too weak to really be an issue. People like Android 17 and 18 would be more than enough to handle him if he ever came back to Earth, and he might just never come back. I should mention that Android 17 and 18 are in similar positions to the main timeline, the difference being that Android 17 didn't need to be revived since he was spit up by Cell. This means they had an interaction with him already and know that he's a park ranger on Monster Island. While he and Android 18 would prefer to move on with their lives, they feel as though they owe the Z-Fighters a debt of gratitude, since they not only saved them, but allowed them to keep living despite being the abominations that they are. Back to the conversation with Kami though, Kami agrees with Gohan, but says they don't know what plans Frieza has in store. It's dangerous to leave him be. Gohan says he'll have Elder Kai keep his crystal ball watching Earth, so if Frieza does return, they'll be ready. So, a month of Gohan staying home and working as a scholar passes before he returns to train with Broly and the Kais. Before he goes, he tells Kami to inform King Kai of what's going on. He should be able to contact Goku and Vegeta to tell them as well. So, Kami did just that. King Kai tells Goku and Vegeta about Frieza's revival, and Vegeta is visibly angry. But he also thinks Frieza's just too weak to get worked up about. Before closing the telepathic link, King Kai tells the two that if Frieza does return to Earth, Gohan and Broly will return right away, so it shouldn't be an issue. Vegeta says whatever, and both return to their training for the next 2 months, until the fated day arrives. Frieza is coming to Earth. Jocko warns Bulma of Frieza's return an hour before it happens. Luckily, Kami is ever vigilant and uses his godly vision to see and hear their conversation. He uses telepathy to talk to Bulma and tells her he knew this was coming. The Z-Fighters have been preparing for this just in case, though 1,000 soldiers were unexpected. Goten and Trunks might need to participate as well if they were to have a reasonable chance. Bulma immediately refuses him though. When the Saiyans came to Earth, Gohan was treated as a last line of defense rather than showing up immediately, so they will treat Goten and Trunks the exact same way. Kami apologizes for being too rash and says he'll begin contacting the other Z-Fighters for now. Once Frieza gets closer to the planet, Gohan and Broly should be made aware of his presence and make their way back to Earth anyway. So, Krillin, Tenshinhan, and Roshi arrive at the battlefield moments before Gohan and Broly are teleported there. Krillin told Android 18 to stay home with Marin, and Android 17 didn't think that Frieza required his help since Gohan and Broly were coming back to Earth for it. Once they arrive, they can feel Frieza's overwhelming power, and even worse, they can sense that he hasn't transformed yet. Gohan was completely mistaken to think that Frieza wouldn't be a threat, and now the world with his family on it might pay the price for his arrogance. Who knows how strong Frieza could be? Broly puts his hand on Gohan's shoulder and tells him not to worry. Even if Frieza transforms, their training should be enough. The battle begins with everyone taking on Frieza's foot soldiers, but with everyone stronger than in the original version of events due to Kami's foresight, they aren't even remotely an issue. Even Tagoma is defeated quickly, and there's no Ginyu Frog to take control of any bodies either. This leaves us with the main event himself, the Emperor of the Universe, Frieza. Frieza makes his way down to the ground, asking who he should kill first. Broly is ready to face him, but Gohan steps forward instead. It was Gohan's arrogance that made this situation worse than it needed to be, so he would be the one to fix it. Frieza transforms into his true form immediately, and asks if he will transform as well. Gohan says it's sort of a transformation, and powers up into the ultimate form. Frieza is unimpressed by the simplicity of it, but this should at the very least pose for some good entertainment. Remember, this isn't Buu Saga's ultimate Gohan. This is a Gohan that never took breaks from training. A Gohan that has gotten stronger to make sure he doesn't fail the people he loves. A Gohan who got his potential unlocked after doing all of that. He was no pushover. While base to base, Broly was still stronger than him, Gohan still had more power than Frieza's final form. Frieza didn't want to admit it, but Gohan was clearly winning their battle. The power gap is so great that it's clear Gohan has surpassed the power of base Goku in the original Resurrection F arc. Frieza backs off and tells Gohan he's put on a good show, but that power can't compete with what he has in store. Gohan says he hasn't shown everything either. Gohan transforms into his Super Saiyan form, stacking it with Ultimate like he does in Dragon Ball GT or like Broly with the Ikari form. This means that Gohan has gotten potentially over 50 times stronger, since the Super Saiyan multiplier can be flexible depending on which guidebooks you use for it. Frieza transforms into his golden form in response, and the power is unimaginable. Gohan can tell right away he is heavily outclassed. Frieza begins to attack Gohan with everything he has. The young Saiyan is trying his hardest just to fight back, but nothing seems to be working. Broly tries to tell Gohan to back off and let him take care of it, but Gohan can't get away from Frieza, and Frieza won't let Broly get closer. Even with his ultimate Ikari form activated, Broly just can't make it past any of the beams Frieza is sending his way. While the transformation multiplier for the Ikari form is lower than Super Saiyan, Broly actually has more potential than Gohan, so his ultimate form provides a greater amp to make up for the difference, and then some. Not to mention, base to base, Broly is stronger than Gohan. Even still, the gap between him and Frieza was obvious, so after torturing Gohan for a bit, Frieza lets out one final ki blast, killing the young Saiyan where he stands. Now that's one monkey taken care of. Shall we move on to you? Broly can't believe his eyes. Gohan was his nephew. He should have protected him. How can he explain this to Goku, to Chi-Chi, to Goten? He can't do it. The world will probably end. It's over. No hope. Then, it snaps. Broly, in a fury of emotions, transformed into his Super Saiyan form, once again stacked on top of the Ikari form, but it didn't stop there. His energy kept growing, and his hair began to turn green. This is Broly's full power Super Saiyan form. All reason left Broly at this point. Only rage and sorrow remained. This culminated in the form of raw and unprecedented power. Frieza stands no chance. While the Tyrant does his best to stay standing and fighting, Broly is completely unfazed by any of his efforts. The power in him continues to grow as the fight continues, until eventually he kills Frieza. However, we know that won't stop the rampage. Broly's rage turns to Frieza's ship and the remaining soldiers on it. This includes even the non-combatants. Eventually, he goes through all of them, and all that's left are the Z-Fighters. Luckily for them, a beam of light crashes out of the sky, and it's none other than Goku, Vegeta, Beerus, and Whis. There is no time for pleasantries. King Kai told Goku and Vegeta what was happening on Earth, so they had Whis bring them home. Beerus only came along to eat at first, but then they sensed Broly's power as they approached Earth. Beerus' demeanor instantly changed when he felt that ki. As they land, Goku and Vegeta begin to go toward Broly, but Beerus tells them to stand back. Goku asks Beerus not to kill Broly, and Beerus says he might have to. So Beerus walks forward to face Broly.
So, Saiyan, you were hiding this power from me. You could have made our first fight far more enjoyable if you hadn't.
Broly says nothing in response and charges Beerus. He wasn't actually trying to taunt Broly, he wanted to see if he was responsive at all. The battle between the two begins, and while it's clear Beerus has the advantage to start, Broly's power is quickly escalating. At this point, Beerus only has two options, so he tries the better of the two. For the first time in millions of years, Beerus shows off his full power. A slight understanding of Ultra Instinct is on display as he dodges Broly's attacks and ends up behind him. Beerus takes both fists and slams them on Broly's head, triggering the head bump once again, and returning Broly to his base form. Beerus throws Broly back over to Goku and tells him that if that ever happens again, Broly will be a danger to the universe and Beerus will not be able to spare him again. Beerus adds that they'll be taking him back to his planet so Whis can find a way to put his power under control. Before they return to Beerus' world, Goku asks Bulma to give Beerus enough food to buy some time. With the extra time on Earth, Goku collects the Dragon Balls and resurrects Gohan with them. He tells Gohan what happened and how they have to take Broly to Beerus' world for the time being. Gohan apologizes. This only happened because he was too weak and arrogant. Goku offers to take Gohan to train under Whis as well, but Gohan says he can't since teleportation is what makes his training journeys more reasonable. Supreme Kai overhears Gohan and tells him that he can learn to teleport too, but he'll need to take some time off from his work. Gohan considers it and almost rejects, but the thought of his family dying was worse than losing a bit of time at work or with them. So, Gohan goes to train at Planet Yardrat, while Goku, Vegeta, and Broly go to Beerus' planet. Some time passes and we're led to the Universe 6 tournament, of course, but Beerus stipulates that it be 4 fighters each rather than 5 since he only knows of the 4 Saiyans being genuinely powerful. In this version, Beerus sees no need to have Monaka as a goal to achieve. He already displayed his full power for them, and that should hold as a goal to reach. There are 5 days until the tournament, so to prepare, Gohan and Broly spend 2.5 days in the Room of Spirit and Time, while Goku and Vegeta do the same after they leave. It's been a while since they last used it, so Kami had it upgraded to support a greater time limit than just 2 years, the same as Dende did in the original version of events. So, the 5 days pass and the tournament arrives, and honestly, the details aren't very interesting here considering outside of 2 fights, the arc itself isn't interesting in the original story to begin with, but I'll try my best. Botama was cut from the Universe 6 team, so the tournament begins with Goku versus Frost. This leads to Goku underestimating him and losing to the poison, just like he did in the original. Jocko immediately notices that something is off, so he tells Gohan, who is up next, to watch out for Frost's wrists. While Frost still seems like a good Frieza up front, Gohan still doesn't trust him completely due to his own failures at the hands of the actual Frieza and Jocko's warning. So, unlike Goku, he doesn't waste time, and in his ultimate form, he knocks Frost out in a few blows. Gohan has the referee check Frost's arm, and he sees the poison, so Goku rejoins the roster. Beerus says Goku will go before Broly, because Broly should remain a last resort. This is where an order change happens for Universe 6, as Vegeta is the next one to fight. I'm mostly doing this because the Vegeta fight is less interesting than the Cabba fight, and I kinda want Cabba to fight Vegeta, as you'll see in a few minutes. Champa once again puts the dome over the arena to make the air get hot and heavy, which results in Gohan losing a lot of stamina in this fight. Luckily, Gohan is no stranger to insults, so he does manage to eliminate Vegeta with the ultimate Super Saiyan Kamehameha, but his oxygen supply is just too low and he faints as well, resulting in a double knockout. Next up is Vegeta, who takes on Kaba, and he teaches the young Saiyan how to transform into Super Saiyan and ends the fight as he did in the original story. Finally, Hit steps up to fight. He first battles Vegeta, and Vegeta loses to Hit's time skip. Next, Goku steps up, showing off the Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue, but knowing his body won't hold out. He eliminates himself and smiles at Broly. Beerus yells at Goku for quitting early and looks at Broly. His eyes sharpen as he tells Broly not to mess this up. That meant two things: don't lose the fight, and don't lose control. Hit cracks his neck and gets ready to face Broly. Clearly, they saved the strongest for last, so he had to be on guard and be ready for his time skip to evolve as they fight. Whis smirks as Broly begins to power up. It was hard for him to do, but a focus on control was needed to rein in the power Broly already had access to, and that was something easier said than done. They might be able to work him up to God Ki eventually, but for now, this would do rather fine. First, he grows in size and becomes Ikari. Then, his aura turns white as he activates his unleashed potential. And finally, his pupils burst while his hair turns blonde as he transforms into a Super Saiyan. Even managing this level of control was extremely difficult. Broly couldn't maintain the form for long because of his own instability and the head bump's desire to suppress the power. But Broly was far stronger than Goku, and by extension, far stronger than Hit. Every time skip was meaningless before the speed and power difference, so Broly knocks Hit out of the ring in a few blows, ending the battle and securing the win for Universe 7. This is, of course, when Zeno arrives. He scolds Beerus and Champa, but tells them he'll let it slide because it was very entertaining to watch, and he even suggests that they do this again sometime in the near future, but include all of the universes. Beerus and Champa let out a sigh of relief, but as he did originally, Goku walks up to Zeno and treats him just like any normal person. The first time something like this has ever happened to Zeno in his entire existence. Goku asks Zeno if he promises to do it, and Zeno promises to hold the tournament. So, Zeno flies off with his guards, and Super Shenron is summoned. Beerus wishes for Universe 6's Earth to be restored, and everyone ends on a happy note. But, like I say at the end of every one of these parts, things cannot remain peaceful in Dragon Ball for very long. In a distant universe, a god was being trained to become the next Kaioshin. However, his mind and his morals are clouded by thoughts of mortal actions. Perhaps there should be 0 mortals in the multiverse, so each universe's beauty can shine untainted. After the battle against the revived Frieza and the tournament with Universe 6, the two adopted Saiyan brothers were finally together again, training under a unified teacher as Goku continued to master God Ki and Broly tried to tame his own internal power. However, power growth wasn't the only thing happening. In another timeline, a friend of our cast is in trouble. The child of Vegeta and Bulma, Trunks, was facing an unexpected and unhinged foe. Before we get into that though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you want more Dragon Ball content, and while you're at it, go give me a follow over on Twitch, where I will be starting up live streams again very soon. The beginning of this is very much the same as it was in the original version of the Future Trunks arc, with Trunks on the run trying to get to the time machine with the fuel Bulma has spent a year creating. During this, the death of Bulma and the supposed death of Mai occur, leading Trunks to a tearful exit from his timeline. When he arrives on present Earth, Bulma uses the communicator Whis gave her to call Goku, Broly, Vegeta, and Gohan back to Earth. So, with his new skills from Yardrat, Gohan teleports the group back to Earth, and they are shocked to find that Trunks is in the state he's in. As he opens his eyes, Trunks attacks Goku, mistaking him for Goku Black, but Goku easily catches the punch and Bulma smacks Trunks. He realizes that this isn't Goku Black, this was the same Goku he saw kill Perfect Cell. Trunks tells them of his plight and the ruination of the future timeline, but Gohan steps up and powers up to Ultimate Super Saiyan, asking Trunks if the power of this form is beyond Goku Black. Trunks is astonished by Gohan's power, but he tells Gohan that Black has seemingly been toying with him this whole time. Gohan was definitely stronger than the power Black has been using, but he hasn't even transformed against Trunks either. It was still a mystery. Gohan powers down and puts his hand on Trunks' shoulder and tells him that they all have powers that surpass what he just displayed. Vegeta isn't happy with the idea of them going to the future and handling Trunks' problems for him, so he tells Trunks that he'll be getting stronger before they go back to the future. This trip would be a one-time visit for them, no back and forth like the original version of this story. Vegeta asks Gohan to take Trunks to Elder Kai and have the old man draw out Trunks' potential to save time. Gohan agrees and they teleport there. While the two are gone, a visitor arrives through a wormhole, one who looks suspiciously like Goku. This is, of course, Goku Black. The man who wishes to destroy all mortals has arrived in the present, and Goku steps up to take him on. The battle here is the same as in canon, so there's nothing to really go over. Eventually, Black is pulled through the wormhole and taken back to the future timeline, but before he does, he destroys the time machine on his way back. With the time machine destroyed, there was plenty of time for Trunks to have his power unlocked and even give him some time to train. Bulma tells them not to worry since she'll fix the time machine, but it'll take time, longer than it did in Super. And that's only because of one reason. More people are going to the future in this version of the story. Remember, the original time machine could only fit about 4 people at most, but this time they need to take at least 5 fully grown Saiyans on this journey. So it takes Bulma around a month to make the time machine, but luckily, it's a time machine, so they can go to the moment after Trunks left, or at least to near that time. Beerus and Whis step in and tell them that time travel is strictly prohibited, but they tell them that they'll let it slide since there's already a new time ring made. At the moment, they're more interested in the fact that Goku Black's ki felt like a certain Supreme Kai in training, the disciple of Supreme Kai Gowasu, Zamasu. So, Goku, Beerus, and Whis head to Universe 11 to see if they are right regarding the identity of Goku Black. This encounter remains the same as the original, the difference being that Gowasu and Zamasu recognize Goku from seeing the tournament against Universe 6 on GodTube before Goku arrives. With this change, there's no paradox explanation for Zamasu's origins in this version of the story. He becomes aware of mortal insolence to the point of wanting to take action against them earlier, though that won't change much outside of fixing the paradox. What also happens during their month wait is that Goku visits Zeno and gets the Zeno button. Gohan trains with Trunks after his potential is unlocked, and Whis has made it abundantly clear that he has no interest in training people before they time travel. Because of this, only light training was done between Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, and now it's time for a trip to the future. In the new and improved time machine, Goku, Broly, Vegeta, Gohan, and Trunks make their way to the future timeline. They arrive in a ravaged city, and their key signatures make Goku Black aware that they're here. He quickly flies over to them, and Trunks steps up to fight Goku Black. By using his ultimate form and stacking it with Super Saiyan 2, Trunks feels confident that he can beat Goku Black now, so the two begin to battle, and it seems like Trunks actually has what it takes to win until Goku Black pulls back and claps. He's happy that Trunks has become more powerful because his body yearns to fight and grow more powerful as well. The Saiyan DNA affects Goku Black's judgment, but it wouldn't matter as he transforms into Super Saiyan Rose for the first time. By combining the innate godly ki of Zamasu and the Super Saiyan form, Goku Black gets a variant of Super Saiyan that is far more similar to Super Saiyan Blue in terms of functionality and power. This was bad for Trunks, as he couldn't contend with that level of power growth. Black continues to beat down Trunks, so Gohan transforms to charge in and help him, but a wayward blast comes his way, stopping him from continuing. The shadowed figure steps forward and reveals himself to be none other than Broly, or more specifically, Broly Black. Things just became much more difficult. Remember, Zamasu saw the tournament with Universe 6, so he's aware that Broly is the stronger of the two Saiyans from Earth. He starts by taking over Broly's body, but just as Goku's body yearned for Zamasu to choose fighting and strength over all else, Broly's body yearned to be with his brother, Goku. So instead of immortal Zamasu, we have Goku Black and Broly Black. This changes everything. So Goku, Vegeta, and Broly charge Broly Black, while Gohan goes to help Trunks. This was a battle on two fronts, but it seems like there's a clear numbers advantage for our heroes. I would say that, if not for the fact that Broly Black has been hiding his true power. With a roar, he transforms into Super Saiyan Rosé as well. With his own soul inside Broly's body, Zamasu was able to use the regular Super Saiyan form with no issue. Now things have just become much worse. The bodies of Goku and Broly Black are a year older than their present timeline counterparts. This means more training and more power when the bodies were stolen. Broly was already a monster in terms of fighting power, so to have him in Rosé as well is the worst possible scenario. Everyone is being brutalized on the battlefield, and it's not looking good for our heroes as the powers they face only grow stronger. Goku Black and Broly Black reconvene and begin to laugh at the Saiyans as they lie on the ground. In his arrogance, Goku Black takes off his Potara and holds it in the hand opposite the ear it was on. He begins to laugh again, while Broly Black seems confused since they shouldn't need to merge right now. While still laughing, Goku Black crushes the Potara. Goku Black tells Broly Black that having two beings with infinite power is better than one, and his body yearns to find what lies at the end of the road to such strength. He yearns to never use someone else's strength when he can rely on his own. Broly Black sighs and tells Goku Black they'll need to keep these Saiyans alive a bit longer to further their power then. Goku Black agrees and both look down to where they left the Saiyans, only to see that they're gone now. Broly Black snarls at Goku Black, who says they couldn't have gotten far with the power they have left. Goku Black was wrong though. Gohan was able to use instant transmission to take the 5 Saiyans to the hideout of the rebels. Once there, Broly asks Trunks if this is everyone left on Earth, and he says it is, and Broly's rage is just undeniable. Broly tells Gohan to teleport everyone to a different planet. He'll either defeat the two or die trying. Gohan senses with everything he has until he eventually locks on a power reading that feels like Piccolo's. It's Planet Namek. Before they leave, Goku gives Broly a hug and a senzu. He wishes him luck as he knows what he's about to do. With everyone now holding on to Gohan, he takes all the survivors to Planet Namek. Trunks has the time machine in a capsule, so if they need to return to the past, they can. When they arrive on Planet Namek, Vegeta asks one of the Namekian elders if they can borrow the Dragon Balls. Goku understands what Vegeta is thinking and agrees, so they begin to collect the 7 Namekian Dragon Balls. Back on Earth, Broly eats the senzu and regains his strength, flaring his ki once he's outside to get the 2 Zamasu's attention. They're confused to find that only Broly is there to face them, but it's no matter. The others will come once Broly is defeated. In Broly's mind, Beerus' words echo from the tournament with Universe 6. "Don't mess this up!" The words still mean the same thing now as they did then. Don't lose the fight, and don't lose control. Broly begins to power up, and as he does, a maddeningly wide smile appears on Goku Black's face. He's excited to experience the power of the strongest Saiyan and crush it in his palm. It seems like Broly had gotten stronger from the previous fight, but that's not all. His power continues to rise beyond normal bounds. His body enlarges and his aura is violently whipping around, combining full-powered Super Saiyan and the ultimate form perfectly. Broly is now as strong as he was in the Broly movie, but does he have control? At the very least, the only targets on the planet right now are Goku Black and Broly Black, so there will be no casualties. At the very worst, Broly would lose control and destroy the universe, but he had to take that risk. So, the battle begins, and it's clear that a Rosé Broly Black with a head bump is just no match for the fully unleashed power of Broly. You see, as Broly becomes more accustomed to the ultimate form, its power begins to increase as it had for Gohan. But even more importantly than that, it lets power that's locked behind the head bump seep out. Broly Black has no way to overcome the head bump, so he falls short of a power that requires fusion to overcome, and with only one Potara, they have no way to perform any kind of fusion. The beating is unrelenting. Every one of Broly's punches carry with them the cries of those murdered by the rogue gods, the hopes of the ones that are still alive, and the fate of existence as a whole. The first one to die is Goku Black, and while Broly Black puts up more of a fight, he's eventually overcome and killed as well. Broly looks around for more people to fight, but only sees the destruction of Earth around him. He cries into the sky, and with pain in his face, his power begins to expand from his body at a speed so fast it seems like the whole universe would be consumed in seconds if it was fully unleashed. That's when the world begins to change in front of him. The sky brightens and the city returns to how it once was. The sounds of confused people surround him. He looks around frantically, and as he does, he begins to power down. The sight of all the things he wants to protect, calming down the enraged Saiyan. Back on Namek, Goku had wished for Earth to return to the way it was before Goku Black arrived, and since the Namekians upgraded the Dragon Balls after Frieza slaughtered them, they were able to revive the people too. Once they have their wishes granted, they thanked the Namekians for their help and had Gohan teleport them back to Earth. The Saiyans reunite with Broly and congratulate him on controlling his power. He says it wouldn't have worked without their wish, but they all see a world where Broly controls this power in the near future. Before the four return to the past, Broly asks why Trunks isn't coming with them. If he doesn't come with them, then he loses his time machine. That's when Trunks reveals another time machine was one of the wishes they made with Porunga. That way, if they ever need each other again, they can both access each timeline. Dende was also brought to Earth so they would have Akami and Dragon Balls once again, and with this, the future was finally saved. Time for Goku, Broly, Gohan, and Vegeta to return home. But where is Vegeta? Inside the newly restored Capsule Corp building, Vegeta is walking to the room where Bulma currently is. As Bulma sees Vegeta, her eyes begin to water. As the tears flow, Vegeta gives his wife's future counterpart a loving embrace. He apologizes for how weak he was in this timeline and for how the Vegeta she knew was probably dismissive of her and their child. She shakes her head though and tells him that she understands where he comes from. The life he led before Earth wasn't easy, so settling down wasn't easy either. Bulma pulls away from him and tells Vegeta to return to the present, to return to his Bulma. He smiles and tells her that so long as Trunks keeps training, he'll make a fine warrior and protector of Earth. Hopefully, this is the last time they'd need to see each other, at least for some time. Vegeta leaves future Bulma and returns to the time machine, where all the Saiyans that came from the present enter and return to the past. For now, the world is saved. Of course, it would be a year before the next arc begins, but with no future Zeno, would the King of Everything even want to destroy 8 universes? He didn't in the future timeline, where he's by himself for over an additional decade, so does this mean no Tournament of Power? I don't think so. You see, Goku would still use the Zeno button and remind Zeno of the tournament he promised over a year ago. However, while this does mean that the winner still gets the Super Dragon Balls, the losers don't get erased. With no future Zeno who doesn't know about the tournaments, there will be no Zen exhibition match because Zeno already knows what a tournament is. This gives the universes more time before the actual tournament begins, and luckily there's no recruitment arc needed as the Z Fighters are more interested in participating and testing themselves rather than whatever they're doing in their daily lives. This leaves us with time to train. I won't go as far as to say that they replicate what was done in What If Universe 7 trained before the Tournament of Power, but I will say they utilize the Room of Spirit and Time at the very least. Remember, the Z Fighters in this story are already stronger than their canon counterparts, but we still have to assemble a team of 10. Right now, we have Goku, Broly, Vegeta, Gohan, Roshi, Tenshinhan, Krillin, and even Yamcha, totaling 8 members. But don't forget though, our cast was given the time machine. Beerus didn't know they kept one, so he didn't destroy it like in the original. This means they have a way to recruit future Trunks, which is the task given to Vegeta. The final spot will once again be Frieza, and so Goku heads off to get the dead Emperor. Beerus warns them that they need to win in order to keep Zeno's favor, because he may use winning the tournament as a factor in the future when determining which universes should stay around. So everyone that isn't recruiting gets to training, and they utilize the Room of Spirit and Time in turns until it's time for them to leave for the tournament. At this point, it should be really clear that the majority of the tournament isn't really an issue. Eventually, the tournament gets down to its final competitors: Goku, Broly, Gohan, Vegeta, Trunks, and Frieza versus Dispo, Toppo, and Jiren. Toppo takes on Vegeta and Trunks, Dispo takes on Gohan and Frieza, and Jiren takes on Goku and Broly. Trunks, Gohan, Toppo, and Dispo all get eliminated, and it's down to Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, Broly, and Jiren. Quickly, Jiren realizes that he can't take them all on at once, so he eliminates them one by one until it's only him and Broly left. Jiren thinks the battle is finished now, but Broly has to risk it in order to win this tournament. The Saiyan transforms further until he is once again using full-powered Super Saiyan on top of the Ultimate form. It was a year ago that Broly was able to use the power, and it was on par with the power he displayed against Gogeta in the Broly movie. So here we have an extra year of training and an even stronger Broly. I know people argue about Broly from the Broly movie versus Jiren at his max awakened power, but Jiren's awakened form is beyond his starting max power, so without that, he shouldn't be a match for a stronger Broly like we have here. There's nothing pushing Jiren to awaken this time, so it should be Jiren's normal max power versus a stronger Broly. With Jiren defeated, this is an easy win for Universe 7 overall. Even after Jiren's defeat, there's still an issue as Broly continues to rampage. With the tournament officially over, Beerus tells Whis to knock him out of it, and so he does. With Broly now under control again, all that remains is the question of what to do with the wish. The Grand Priest and Zeno look to Broly for an answer, but he can't think of anything. So Goku jumps down and tells Broly to let him make the wish for him. Broly agrees, and Goku wishes for Broly to have complete control over his power. So, the Grand Priest makes the wish, and Broly now has full control going forward. Since the tournament wasn't about destroying universes or even mortal ratings in general, there's no need for a non-selfish wish to be made, and thus, a selfish wish could be made. What would a selfless wish even be, other than, say, Goku wishing for something that's for somebody who isn't him? Seems pretty selfless anyway. This is where our story ends for now, though. Frieza wasn't as crucial in the end, so he gets sent back to Hell as he originally expected. There's no Broly movie content to cover here, and with the Moreau arc still ongoing, it may be a bit too soon to continue this what if any further. So, for now, hit that like and subscribe button for more content in the near future, and thank you so very much for watching.